Today we're going to do a special little project on how to cut in, trim, ceilings, and baseboard. So a lot of people really struggle with cutting in, and there's a lot of reasons why. Mainly is because using the wrong brush or the wrong technique. So what we have here is a Purdy brush. This is the Chinex Elite series. Now guys, the Purdy is my personal favorite paintbrush. It was my dad's favorite paintbrush. I even still use some of his Purdy paintbrushes that have been around since he painted at Walt Disney World before the place was open. So Purdy is a great brush. It's made right here in the USA. Guys, believe it or not, this is only about a $15 brush. So I've cut in with a lot of different brushes. I'm not a painter by trade, but I play one on TV, okay? What you're gonna want is a 2.5 inch angled brush. Some people call it a sash brush, whatever you want to call it, but basically it's gonna have a nice little angle on it, and it's gonna help us make nice little lines on our ceiling and around our trim. We actually took this room on as a little side project. We already trimmed out the windows and put all new trim around the windows. Ceiling's already done, but we figured we'll show you how to cut in because we get a lot of inquiries about it actually, and people want to know how to do it. So we got our 2.5 inch angled brush. Another alternative, guys, if you want to take the time and you want to tape off all these places and all your baseboard and tape off using painter tape with on your ceilings and everything that you don't want to get paint on, you can go that route, but we're going to do it today using no tape, and hopefully we're going to do it in about a quarter of the time. A lot less prep and that kind of stuff. So step one, guys, I painted for years using an old bucket, but then my wife suggested I try this handy paint can. I call it my paint buddy now. It's a lifesaver. It's got a nice handle on the back. You can hold the paint, and you can get these little plastic inserts that are going to make your life a lot easier come cleanup time. A lot of people hate cleanup, including me, especially with paint. So we got our new paint here, guys. I had a screwdriver here. Everything's shooken up, so we don't have to worry about stirring it right now. So basically, if you've never opened a paint can, which, hey, I never opened one before, I didn't either. So we're going to take a flat screwdriver, or they make tools that are specific for it, but you don't need it. You're just going to pry around the edge until you get that lid free. So guys, if you're going to be painting, I suggest you put on just an old crappy work shirt and some old shorts or whatever, because if you don't want to get paint on something that you're worried about. But if you're a professional like me, you're not going to get paint on your clothes, you're not going to get paint on your hands, you're not going to be wearing paint. My dad always told me that you see a painter wearing paint, don't hire him, right? So we're going to let all them little drips come off of there before we take it off. Flip it over. Doing good so far. I have no paint on me. Just going to set that flat. So here's where a lot of people freak out with pouring paint, because basically once you've poured the paint, you're going to have paint all over the side of this can right here. So I'm going to show you a little trick that's going to save you a lot of mess, and in the future it's going to help you see exactly what color's in the can. So make sure you have your paintbrush out before you start pouring. Put our paint buddy down, and here's the scary part, guys. See how big of a mess I can make. We're going to fill that bucket up about a quarter of the way. Then we're going to stop pouring, and as you can see, we got paint running down the side of the bucket. So we're just going to take our brush, and we're going to paint the side of that bucket. And then we're going to set it down. We're going to take the brush, we're going to run along the inside of that lid. This is going to make opening it the next time so much easier, guys. Then you can just slightly push on your brush and you can see the paint running off of it. I'm going to do that one more time. Make sure we got all that paint out of the seal where the lid goes. These Purdy brushes, guys, are, you know, Sherwin-Williams. These brushes, they hold paint well. So you're not going to really have paint running all over the place. And then we're going to go over here on the front, make sure we got all them drips off. Beautiful. One last time in here, all our paint's off. See? No drip, no mess. Hold your paintbrush like this. Pick that lid back up. Flip it over. And we're just going to set it right there. We're not really going to hammer it back in yet. Alright guys, so there's our trim. We got it all caulked. We got the trims already painted. So first rule, guys, with any painting, right, is we don't want to put so much paint on the brush that we're getting it all over the neck here and the handles, and that's how you end up with paint all over your fingers. So what we're looking for is maybe a quarter, even up to a half. We're just going to dip it in there a little bit. We're going to tap the sides just a little bit, not enough to splatter the paint, but when you're tapping it on a good brush, you're going to let the paint stick into the brush a little better. So what I like to do when I'm starting to paint trim or anything I'm doing with cutting in is I like to get a little paint not all the way up against it yet, just work my way out of it, and then I'm going to come back into it, and I'm going to just keep cutting that in until I get the line that I want. Now we got that paint on there. I'm going to get a little more. Remember guys, we only want about a quarter or so on there. We don't want paint getting all over everything that we don't want it on. And what I've noticed when you're using tape, guys, when you start to take that tape off, you're always going to see big spots that you've missed. This way I can see my lines as I'm painting. Just a little bit of patience, guys. Keep that brush angled. Keep working it in until you like the line that you see. See how that's making a nice straight line there? And then on the outside, you're always going to see that line. Just take your brush and wipe it down. All we're worried about is making it flat, because when we come in here with the roller, we're going to be almost right back up against that trim, and that's going to cover all that up. So a little more paint. Remember, start out here and work your way in, down, then back up. We're just going to keep doing that until you like your line. I don't have enough paint on here right now. Get a little more paint, a little tap. Remember guys, it takes patience and it takes some time and practice, but you will get it. Eventually you're going to like that line that you see there. Remember, we're just going to knock that line down on the outside. See how we're making a nice straight line down that edge? So much better than tape. And like I said, when I've taped these before, yeah, you can make it turn out right, but when you start pulling that tape off, you're going to see that there's a whole bunch of places that you miss, and then you're going to have to go through this whole process again and try to get little spots. So if you got a nice brush and a little bit of patience, you're going to make a nice steady line up and down that trim. More paint. And it's so much better, guys, when it comes time to start having to pull all that tape off. Because what I've noticed a lot is even with the good painter's tape, when you're pulling that tape off, it'll start pulling paint off with it. And then it's a real pain in the butt. Remember, knock that line down. You want all your final strokes to go back into the paint. That way you don't get those big textured lines. Maybe someday I'll try to do this for a living, because this is fun. Remember, the flatter you can keep that brush, the less you'll get on your trim. You're just trying to meet it up and cover that caulk. Alright, you guys, if you got a good idea on this. Remember, guys, any questions? Leave a comment, and we'll definitely get right back with you. But remember, I'm not a professional painter, but I have painted a few times. And I definitely prefer the look of not using the tape, because like I said, it creates a lot of other kinds of issues. The paint always bleeds behind the tape anyway, and it starts to pull the paint out when you go to take the tape off. I'm going slow now, guys, so you can see how it's going, but once you get used to it, you can really start to move along and get a lot of this covered in a short amount of time. Alright, guys, so I'm going to go around the room. I'm going to finish up all this trim work. You guys go grab yourself an ice cold beverage. And as soon as you get back, we'll move on to the ceiling. So we'll see you, let's say approximately, how long you think? About 30 minutes. I can do it all in 30 minutes. Alright, I'll be right back and we'll start on the ceiling. Knock that out. Alright guys, we're going to start on cutting in the ceiling now. Obviously we already did the ceiling, so we're going to try to make that same cut line across the wall there where they meet. All I got here is a stool today. You really want to be higher, you want to be able to see this at eye level, but I'm going to give it a shot because we got to get this done. So we're just going to start out again wide, and we're just going to keep working our brush back into the ceiling until we get the line that we want. Remember guys, patience. I know I don't have very many, and I'm not very patient at a lot of things, but painting, it's actually kind of fun, and I enjoy it. Even if you get a little bit on the ceiling, it's going to be okay. Like I said, this is when it helps to be a little higher so you can see your line better. This is something you definitely can't do with like your throwaway brushes, because they're not going to hold on to the paint nearly as good as these brushes will, or any quality brush. You don't have to get Purdy. It's a brand that I've been using for my whole life, so just keep going until we get our line that we want, which I'm starting to be happy with that. These brushes, and the more you bend them, you can force them into corners like that. See how that brush will flatten out? We'll put the paint right there where you want it. Right in the corner always seems to be the most difficult spot. Yeah, I'm starting to like that. Oh, get a little bit on the ceiling. Definitely not an easy job, guys, so hug a painter today. takes a lot of time to be able to make it look good. And then when it doesn't look good, guys, you blame it on the carpenter and you say it was shoddy drywall work. So I think even carpenters could admit your best friend on a job site is a painter. Ultimately, he's gonna determine whether your work looks good or not. Or she, I should say. Remember, we're just tapping it lightly there. We don't want to splatter paint all over us. And don't forget, guys, to knock down that edge right there. Then our roller is going to come in right behind it. Actually, I'm the roller, so I'll be coming in right behind my own work. And on these ones, guys, you can definitely tell that the finishing work left a gap right here. So you can see how it's hard for the brush to start getting inside that corner. It's because there's a little gap right there that the finisher left. So I guess we can blame that on the finisher, who is also the painter, really. So my dad told me back when he was painting that the carpenters used to have to finish their own drywall until they started whining enough where they finally started making the painters do it. And I'm just kidding with the carpenters. I spent a long time in carpentry, so I still agree that the painter is my best friend. Alright guys, so I'm going to keep working around the ceiling here, and then we'll do one more thing with the trim there, or the baseboard, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this up. But going good so far, I like it. Only thing after this, we'll be rolling, and maybe we'll do that, maybe we'll not. Oh yeah guys, also, I did a lot of drywall repair on these walls for these guys. So you know, it's already been filled in with drywall mud, it's already been primed and everything. So while you got your new color out for the wall, we're gonna go ahead and all those places where we did the drywall repairs, we're just gonna go ahead and put a light coat over all that. And that way when we roll things out, you won't even be able to tell. So as we work our way around the room, I don't know what they were doing in here, but there was a lot of holes in the walls. So we had to do a lot of drywall repair before we even started. But since everything's sanded and primed, we'll go ahead and just put, like I said, this light coat over all that primer and all that drywall work that we did. And that way when we roll it, it's going to cover it right up and you'll never even know it was there. Alright, next time I see you, we'll try to tackle some of that baseboard. And that is the hardest part. Alright guys, so if there's any spot, if you're not comfortable, if there is any place that you want to use tape, the baseboard is where you're going to want to use it. Because, you know, obviously the paint's it has the tendency to want to run down a little bit. So just take your time and go nice and easy until you get the look you want. Alright guys, let's keep working back into it until you get that line that you feel good with. And it's important to have enough paint on your brush, but not too much paint on your brush. And don't worry guys, like if you get little bits on the top of your baseboard, it's not the end of the world. You can always come back with a real tiny, like a model brush or whatever, and touch up any little spots on the top of your baseboard that you got a little too much paint that you know, that you don't like. But it's not going to be perfect, especially in older homes. You'll notice that there's a lot of buildup on top of your baseboards, and you know, in your ceiling joints and your corners everywhere, because if you got a house that's 60, 70, 80 years old, you know, chances are it's probably already been painted 15, 20 times, or, you know, had new baseboard installed and somebody didn't know how to caulk or whatever. But you can still make it look good. And like I said, if you want to put tape on the top of this, feel free. But I find it much easier to just come back later with a real small, like I said, like a brush that you would paint models with, and just touch up that little bit that you get on the top of there. Baseboard is the worst, guys. On your knees, bent over. But basically, guys, your trim, your baseboard, you know, cutting in your ceiling, you're using the same technique on all of them. Like this one, you can see that the caulking is a little messed up on it, so it's making it difficult to get the paint exactly where you want it. But like I said, guys, it's okay. You don't have to be perfect. You see that caulk line that somebody put in there is just making it difficult to get the paint right up inside on the line. And we'll just come back, like I said, guys, that little tiny bit that we end up with on the top of our baseboard, well, we're just going to touch that up with white and call it good. All we got left, guys, is we're going to finish up the baseboard, and then we're going to roll it out. I don't know if you guys want to stick around and see that. That's up to you. But basically, that's how you cut in trim. That's how you cut in your ceiling. And then that's how you cut in your baseboard. You're using the same technique over and over. You know, guys, this is all getting painted, but you're just basically pushing it in, keeping your angle with a little bit of pressure on it, coming back, and you're making a fine, nice little line there. Right? It's just cutting it in, and then you come back with your roller. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little video, little how-to, a little bit of fun. If you guys got any tips for me, I can always use them. Absolutely. Other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. How to cut stuff in, right, with a paintbrush. Remember, angled brush. Get you a quality brush like a Purdy, Sherwin-Williams. Me, myself, I just prefer Purdy because I've been using it my whole life. But you don't have to have a Purdy. But this brush here is only about 15 bucks, like I said. So not bad for a super quality brush. As you can see, guys, I have no paint on me, no paint on my shirt, no paint on my hands. Remember, just keep it about a quarter, dip it in a quarter of the way every time. It's going to work its way up eventually. You just don't want paint all over here. That's how you start getting it on your hands, it's on your face. Next thing you know, it's on your sandwich and you're eating paint, right? All right, guys, until next time, we hope you enjoyed the video. Hit that subscribe button before you go. And until next time, guys, happy bashing.